First, I'd just like to welcome all of you to the Armory. As you know, this is space that's owned by the city of Pasadena, and we're happy to have our District 3 community meeting in this space. We'll be introducing the executive director of this lovely facility shortly. As we begin the program, as we have done since I have been a member on the city council, we welcome young people who are engaged in the junior ROTC program, whether they be at Blair High School in the case of today or any of the other high schools. So the first item of business on our agenda, but before I say that, restrooms are to my left, restrooms are to my right. There will be police presence here if there's a problem, and fire presence here as our first responders, and follow their lead if they should instruct you, particularly the gentleman in the rear with the head that kind of looks like mine. There's no hair on the top. Follow him for sure. He'll be introduced a little while later. But I just want to thank all of you for being here. It's always special to see all of you. You are why we are in elected office. And that is to serve the community and to serve the issues that you bring to our attention. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you the Blair Army Junior ROTC led by First Sergeant Benaiah Hicks. And the young people who are a part of this organization are Melanie Cabrera, Sergeant Major Fernando Salgado, First Sergeant, Adriana Rivas, Corporal, Anne Marie Shearer, Private First Class, and Stephanie Pliego, Private First Class. Please present colors. Please stand. I would ask Commander Ed Kalataud to come forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hand over your hearts, please begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Carry, guys. Right, face. Forward, march, left. Harder, guys.
Thank you, Commander, and thank you. Give a round of applause to the Blair High School Army Junior ROTC. If there are folks standing outside, you can come on in and join us. The next item on the agenda is the opening prayer, and let me just simply say that if you do not feel to participate at this point as it relates to the prayer, don't feel uncomfortable. You are not required to participate. But at all of my community meetings, we invoke some kind of positive attribution. And in this case, we're asking Joshua L. Grader, the rabbi for Friends Indeed, to come forward and lead us in our opening prayer.
Thank you for the honor, Mr. Vice Mayor. A moment of prayer with me, if you will. Holy One, blessed Spirit, we ask your blessing upon this gathering as we come to celebrate and to give thanks for our amazing city, and for all of the blessings that we get to enjoy by being citizens of this amazing community. So we give thanks tonight and ask for prayer and wisdom for our Vice Mayor and for our police chief and for all those who are helping and serving our community. And as we celebrate tonight, oh God, help us to work towards those things that aren't yet as we would like them. Help our leaders and all of us to work together to better our community for all of those, from the most disadvantaged to the most privileged. Let us all, in your spirit, O God, work together and make this city and community to continue to shine for this day and many days and years to come. We ask you to bless us in all that is holy. We say amen.
Stay for a second. So some of you may be aware of Friends Indeed. Friends Indeed is an organization that helps those of our brothers and sisters who are in a tough position economically. And it just so happens that I have had the good fortune, and my 7 sisters and 2 brothers have had the good fortune of receiving benefit from Friends Indeed. They are also my neighbor at the corner of Los Robles and Washington. And so all of you in this room are in a position possibly to volunteer, to make a contribution, or just do something to help our neighbors who are having a little bit tough time during this difficult economy for some. So again, I'd just like to thank the rabbi for being here today, and I hope that he will get to meet all of you, if not tonight, during his tenure as the executive director of Friends Indeed. So again, thank you. I would like to take a couple of minutes and just give some updates on things that are going on in District 3 and in the city. And I've prepared my remarks so I would be hopefully brief. So the first item that I'd like to bring to your attention is the YWCA Julianne Morgan Building. On June 18th, the work of the Civic Center Task Force will be presented to the City Council, and then we can begin a new process to identify a suitable project to restore the building. And you remember that the building is directly across the street from City Hall, and it's bordered by Marengo, Union, Garfield, and Holly. Secondly, I'd like to bring to your attention the Lincoln property development bordered by Holly, Fair Oaks, Walnut, and Pasadena Avenue. That development is expected to pull permits very soon, hopefully within weeks. That development is the largest development that has ever happened in the city of Pasadena. And pay attention, because we have an agreement that they must identify and monument some of the bad things that happen in our community as it relates to urban renewal. And the reason for that, we want posterity to understand who used to live there. So that's actually moving forward as well with the assistance of L.B. Hickenbottom, Al Moses, the developer, and Sue Mossman from Pasadena Heritage, and others possibly from Pasadena Museum and the Pasadena City College and the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Fuller Seminary. So many of you have read that Fuller will be leaving this community, which is a huge loss for our community, because part of Pasadena, we were a beacon for those who were involved in that particular religion. The city is hoping to engage with the broker to ensure that the community's interests are considered as Fuller disposes of the property. If you have any detailed questions, there's not a lot of information right now that has been coming out from Fuller, but we expect to receive additional information, if not days, weeks from now, about what is actually happening related to the situation at Fuller Theological Seminary. AEG, with the new stadiums coming online in LA area, the Rose Bowl Stadium has struck a strategic partnership with AEG to host a large-scale soccer event at the Rose Bowl for a period of 10 years. Now, this is critically important because, you know, they're spending like $1.2 billion, if not $2 billion, in Inglewood to build this stadium, and they're going to have 2 NFL franchises there, and that's going to impact our ability to attract top-tier talent for all of the things that we want to do at the Rose Bowl. But under the leadership of Steve Mermel, our city manager, and Daryl Dunn, the general manager of the Rose Bowl, we've struck this deal. We think it's a good deal. We scrubbed the numbers. The numbers look good. And we hope that it works as the executives have shared with the City Council. Heritage Square Site 2, the City Council's Ed Tech Committee is scheduled to take up the future of Heritage Square South property, and that location is the northeast corner of Orange Grove and Fair Oaks. Just north of there is Heritage Square 1, and that's 69 units of affordable housing for seniors. There are actually 70 units, but one of those units is the property manager's unit. You really need to pay attention and give us your input related to that development, because there are a lot of people who want a lot of things to go there. And we've had a survey in District 3, and the survey suggests that people want more senior housing. But the issue is, what kind of senior housing? Is it for permanently homeless? Is it for transitional homeless? A lot of folks have different ideas, and you need to hopefully stay engaged in the process to make sure we get it right, because that is seen as a gateway to that part of our city. So we need your input, and don't shirk or shrink from providing meaningful input related to Heritage Square Site 2. I should say parenthetically that some have voiced a concern about overconcentration of permanent supportive housing for the homeless. So we'll be looking at everything very closely, and we need your input, as I've stressed several times. Today, the Sister Cities Committee is actually meeting. You remember that we impaneled, or the Sister Cities Committee impaneled an ad hoc committee on Africa. I led a delegation to Dakar Plateau, Senegal, just to look at that as a realistic option for us to have our first African sister city, or a sister city in an African country, if you will, would probably be more accurate. So I'd like to invite all of you to attend their June 14th special meeting that is only going to address the issues related to establishing establishing a sister city in a country in Africa. And that's going to be on June 14 at Trinity Lutheran Fellowship Hall at 984 East Locust Street. Again, the Sister Cities Committee is meeting to hear a special report from the Ad Hoc Committee on Africa, June 14, Trinity Lutheran Fellowship Hall, 984 East Locust Street. At this point, I'd like to invite Ann Hickenbottom to stand at the podium with me. Ann, as you know, has served in so many capacities for the city of Pasadena, and we are grateful for her talented leadership. She retired recently from the largest YWCA probably in the country, probably last year, I think it was. But nevertheless, Ann is now the field representative for Assemblyman Chris Holden, and as you know, I am his successor on the city council. So I want to make sure you know Ann, because she texts me at all times of the night telling me about serious issues, get my point, serious issues in our community, and she is a person in a position to answer the serious issues as it relates to state issues. And I want to also give you her personal number. Her personal number, 626, go on, take it, please, 351-1917. But on the serious side of things, Ann is a professional, a consummate professional, and we worked together when I was a student at USC. At that time, she was involved with the Century Freeway Affirmative Action Committee, and we worked in Linwood together, and it's been a pleasure. And as you know, she comes from a line of civic leaders in our community. So we just want to give Ann a round of applause and just say good luck to her.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that's not my personal number, that's the office number, so feel free to call anytime.
Lastly, as I wrap up so we can move to the next item on the agenda, does anyone want to hear anything about the election results? I can go through them quickly. If you don't want to hear it, we're going to go right to the agenda. Would anyone like to hear? Oh, okay. We'll go quickly. The county has posted preliminary results from the June 5th, 2018 statewide primary election held on Tuesday. The city of Pasadena voted on 4 ballot measures on June 5th, ballot measure AA, BB, CC, DD. These preliminary results will be updated as the county registrar continues to count vote by mail and provisional ballots received at the polls. So what were the results? Pasadena City Special Municipal Election Measure AA. Yes, 13,590 votes. That's 82.29%. What's this means? What does this mean? The city council elections will now occur in even years and will coincide with future state primary and general elections. We had this on the ballot to comply with state law. The next city council election for mayor and city council districts 1, 2, 4, and 6 will occur in March 2020, with runoffs to occur in November 2020. The next city council elections for council districts 3, 5, 7 will occur in March 2022. The runoffs to occur in November of 2022. The current terms of the mayor and city council are extended basically for 19 additional months to facilitate the transition to statewide dates. Pasadena Unified School District Special Election Measure BB. Yes, 21,865 with 84.28%. What does it mean? PUSD Board of Education elections will now occur in even years and will coincide with the state general election. PUSD elections will be plurality elections. Ours is not plurality, meaning the city of Pasadena opted not to use the plurality. We are winner takes all at 50 plus 1. And should you not receive 50 plus 1, it goes into a runoff. Just want to be clear there. The next PUSD Board of Education election for districts 2, 4, and 6 will occur in November of 2020. The next PUSD Board of Education elections for District 1, 3, 5, 7 will occur in November 2022. The current terms of the Board of Education are extended also 19 additional months to facilitate the transition to statewide dates. Pasadena City special municipal election that I think everyone was interested in, Measure CC. Yes votes, 10,134 at 59%. No votes, 6,784 at 40%. What does this mean? It repeals the city's current ban on commercial cannabis, marijuana, right? No, better not do that on camera. Business to allow limited number to operate in the city. In the next 6 to 8 months, but no later than January 1, 2019, the city will develop administrative regulations and processes for commercial cannabis business application. Pasadena City Special Municipal Election Measure DD. Yes, 12,529 votes at 75.49%. What does this mean? Levies a business license tax on commercial cannabis, marijuana, businesses for up to $10 a canopy per square foot and between 4 and 6% of the gross receipts. So that's pretty much the 4 initiatives or 4 ballot measures that was on the recent election, or were a part of the recent election. Okay, I think we're at that time. I'd like to ask Attorney Alfred L. Carr to come to the podium with me for a moment. Mr. Carr's family moved to Pasadena in 1968 when his father became the executive director of the Pasadena Education Association. He attended Lincoln Elementary School, McKinley Junior High School, and graduated from Blair High School in 1976. After graduation, he attended Cal Berkeley. However, he relocated to Virginia to complete his undergraduate and graduate education. Mr. Carr received his baccalaureate degree in business administration and management from Virginia Commonwealth University. His Juris Doctor degree is from the Washington College at Law at American University and is a candidate for a master's in information systems, information assurance at the University of Maryland University campus. Mr. Carr was admitted to the Virginia State Bar in 2001. Upon graduation from law school, Mr. Carr served as a judicial intern to the Honorable Gerald Bruce Lee of the U.S. District Court, Eastern District of Virginia, Alexandria Division. Before and during law school, Mr. Carr was employed as a regulatory accountant at Virginia Power, now Dominion Power, and Potomac Electric and Power Company, PEPCO, where he designed computer models to support rate increases filings. He has also been employed as a computer consultant and a systems analyst at various Fortune 500 corporations, including MCI, WorldCom, Freddie Mac, Geico, and a statistical analysis software, SAS, Experts for Economic Analysis Division of the Department of Justice in support of antitrust cases. He moved back to California to become part of the community. He so loves and to become part of the community, he so loves and to be close to his aging parents that reside in the same house he grew up in. As such, he rejoined and is an active member of Scots United Methodist Church. Currently, he practices law part-time, focusing on business transaction matters. Previously, Mr. Carr served as assistant bar counsel for the Virginia State Bar in the disciplinary section, where he investigated and prosecuted attorneys for violation of the rules of professional conduct. Before that, he was in private practice and focused in the area of residential real estate matters, conservator, trustee, and guardianship matters, family law, and estate administration issues. He also practiced in the area of real estate law and criminal law. Mr. Carr is a member of the Virginia State Bar, the Fairfax Bar Association, the Northern Virginia Black Attorneys Association, the Old Dominion Bar Association, the George Mason American Inn of the Court. Please welcome, wait a moment. He is a proud father of 2 adult children. Please welcome Alfred L. Carr as our newest district liaison for District 3. Thank you. Would you like to say something? No. Oh, smart. Okay. At this time, I would like to hand off the podium to Scott Ward, the Executive Director of Armory Center for the Arts, who will be talking about the summer programming at the Armory. Scott, thank you for having us at your facility, and welcome to the podium.
Thank you. All right. Good evening, everyone. I want to take a minute and welcome you all. This is our home. This is our long-term home, and we're really quite honored to have you here. The Armory opened in 1989, so by many standards, it's a venerable institution, and it really is made for, and we work every day to serve you, the citizens here in Pasadena. I want to talk a little bit about what's going on at this building. Here you come to the Armory and you see exhibitions and you see education. The current exhibitions, which only run through Sundays, so go home, get some rest, come back tomorrow afternoon or Saturday and Sunday. In our main gallery, the show is a 22-minute opera which is sung by inflatable holiday lawn ornaments. So some of these are literally off the shelf. These are those things that sit flat in people's yards, and when the electricity comes on, they sort of float up, and they inflate, in our case, during their performance, and then they shrink back down. And this is an original opera, and it is both very poignant and quite a hoot. It's really quite funny. It's accessible to all ages. Might know we do a lot of field trips here. We have a lot of kids in the building, so it's a great kind of combination of some work that's accessible to kids and accessible to adults as well. So that's in what we call Caldwell Gallery, the main gallery, which is sort of behind where I'm standing. Another of the exhibits that's on view right now is about Mr. Snuggles. And Mr. Snuggles was the artist Jennifer Moon's beloved dog, and Mr. Snuggles passed away. And what you'll see is an extravaganza of tribute to this little dog. And it is, again, quite warm and heartwarming, but it also has this interesting edge, because above this extravaganza is the skeleton of Mr. Snuggles with glass wings. So he's floating above, becoming an angel. So that's Mr. Snuggles. We also have an exhibit on right now that is about Art High. And Art High is a phrase that we use to describe everything that we do with teenagers. That's on site here, that's in schools, that's in parks and community centers. And what we've done is gather all of that work that we do with teenagers and brought it here in exhibit in what we call the community room, which is near our front door. So please come back and see those. Our summer program that John mentioned, the summer studio program, begins July 2nd, so it's coming right up. There's a catalog both in the lobby and online. Most people now register online. That's a fee-for-service program. The exhibits are always free, but the studio classes do have a tuition, and we balance that with unlimited financial aid. Everything we do at the Armory, we want to make sure that it's completely accessible to everyone, that money is never an obstacle to becoming part of the Armory community. So you might want to take a class if you're a big kid or a little kid. You might have a mom who wants to take a class. You might have a kid or a grandkid. It's really a completely exuberant atmosphere. Over the course of the year, we teach about 400 courses in this building, and all skill sets, all ages. People come to this building and they think they've experienced the Armory. This is our long-term home. We have been here, as I said, since 1989. It is our hope and ambition and the reality that we will be here for many, many decades to come in this building. And it's also true that the majority of our work is off-site. So we teach in all of the Pasadena schools from kindergarten through grade 12. We also teach in other school districts, Duarte School District, LA Unified School District. And what we do in schools is a little different than what we do here. What we do in schools is we're mixing art with other parts of the core curriculum. So we teach art and math, art and science, art and language, and we're doing two things. One, we're getting at non-traditional learners, so we're raising test scores, quite literally. We do evaluations where we literally raise test scores, and that's fantastic, obviously. And what we're also doing is a little bit sneakily doubling the amount of time that art can be devoted in the school day. So if you're teaching math with art, you're also making art. So it's a great balance, a great way to kind of engage students, brighten the school day, get more kids to actually want to come to school, and teach them more than they would otherwise. We do a bunch of teacher training. We have 50 of our own teaching artists, and we continually professionally develop them. And we also have an extensive program where we're providing teacher education to classroom teachers. Part of the reality is a lot of classroom teachers these days didn't grow up with art, so they're not comfortable with it in the classroom. So our job is in part to make them more comfortable so they can bring art into their practice every day. They teach everything from classroom management to working with kids with disabilities to kind of trauma-informed care. Additionally, we do one more big giant thing, and that's work in community. So we work in well over a dozen sites around Pasadena: parks, libraries, community centers, nature centers, affordable housing, rec rooms, all kinds of places, festivals, one-day events. And in that case, we're really providing a kind of exuberant addition to what's going on in those contexts. We have always taught everybody. We've always taught folks that are at risk. My personal notion is that everybody's a bit at risk. And in addition, we teach youth that are literally in crisis, youth that need to be going through a kind of diversion from a juvenile justice system. We teach kids who are incarcerated, and we teach kids who are re-entering into the community, because we want those kids to be part of their family again, part of their neighborhood again, part of their community, and part of our city in a really healthy way. And part of what that does is really change this moment for those kids, but it changes it for all of us. So what's important in terms of changing the lives of those kids changes the lives of our community. So we think that's an important role that we're playing. We think that all of what we do is kind of a critical service to the city of Pasadena, and we want to thank all of you. We want to thank John, and we certainly want to thank the city for the long-term partnership that makes this possible. And we want you to come back as often as you can. So make the Armory part of your life. Come and register for classes that begin July 2nd. Thanks so much.
Well, we're in a partnership together.
Yes, we are.
The City of Pasadena and the Armory.
Couldn't do it
And
without you.
we just want to acknowledge something,
Okay.
or just ask a question. This is the Q&A right here.
Okay.
Is that really your natural color hair?
Well, some folks know that I've been the director here at the Armory for 17 years. And while I had gray hair in my 20s a little bit, I have a bit more now after running this place for 17 years. And I'm about to step away from the Armory. I'm going to retire at the end of June. So next Friday, we're going to have a really exciting press release announcement about the future of this place. Yeah. So yes, sir.
Thank you very
All
much.
right, great.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay, see you, John.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Oh. I just want to remind everyone that you have a questionnaire in your chair, and I would hope that during the meeting or after the meeting, you would take time to give us some feedback. You can be as critical of me as you would like, but this is a 2-page questionnaire, front and back. We really would enjoy receiving feedback from all of you. I think it'll help my office do a better job in serving District 3. Also, I'd like to do something that I don't normally do. I'd like to introduce the young lady who has been with me as a district liaison for I think we're going on 6 years, and she has tolerated me, coexisted with me for almost 6 years, and that's Jana West. So Jana, will you come up? The reason, Jana, that they're clapping so loudly is because they have this idea like you are special that you were able to put up with me for so long. But very seriously, we're happy that you do this work, and you don't do it for the money because you don't need the money. Jana is a UC Berkeley graduate. She has a very successful business outside of working for the city, but she really believes in you, and that's why, in part, that I selected her in the first place to be part of this experiment that we're all engaged in terms of public service. So give her another round of applause. Thank you. So At this point, I would like to introduce Steve Mermel, who is the city manager. I think Steve is going on his second year as serving as the city manager for the city of Pasadena. Welcome our city manager, Steve Mermel.
Do we have a, ta-da. Well, good evening, everybody. I'm going to walk through my presentation a little bit quicker because there are a lot of items on the agenda this evening. You heard a lot from the Vice Mayor. There's a few other items on the agenda. But this is a presentation. This is probably the 40th or 40-something presentation that either myself or one of the assistant city managers or the finance director have done in our community. As we were started this off as we were entering our budget season. Now we're in the throes of it. The city council is deliberating on the budget. They will take it up again on Monday, and then we expect that they'll adopt the budget on June 18th. So what we started doing is going out to the community to try to get some feedback from people as to what their priorities are. In the past, we've gone out and done the budget presentation, and we show pie charts and graphs and a lot of numbers. I like that stuff, but it really puts people to sleep and no one shows up. So we tried to jazz it up a little bit. So let me jump into it a little bit more. See, we added pictures this year, okay? So why do people want to live in Pasadena? Because frankly, it's a great city. We have exceptional quality of life and quality services, and that's a great thing. We want to maintain those essential services, maintain our high standard of living here in the city. But we have some challenges. Over the last 5 years, we've lost over $130 million when the governor eliminated redevelopment. All that money that we used to receive in our community to reinvest in our community went away. And our city is getting older, and that's one thing we need to come to grips with. So we're 132 years old. We just celebrated our birthday last weekend. And we have a lot of infrastructure that's getting old. Our fire stations, mid-century is a nice thing to say if that's your house. Mid-century is not a nice thing you want if it's your fire department and your fire station. Because when there is a disaster, when there's the big earthquake, you're going to want us to get the truck out of the station. We need to seismically upgrade our fire stations. And we have very, very limited general fund money to fix our infrastructure. The Vice Mayor is constant in his refrain regarding our need to fix our streets and our sidewalks to make sure that we eliminate trip hazards and other issues. We're spending anywhere between $1 million and $1.5 million a year to fix our sidewalks, but we need a lot more money to do that. And we have very limited money with which to invest. So again, some of our challenges, a lot of youth rely on the city for meaningful after-school and summer programs. We're coming into the summer months. I think we all know PUSD has its own financial challenges, and to the extent that the school district has to pull back a little bit, unfortunately, there'll be greater demands on the city to fulfill those needs. So that won't go away. Homeless is an issue, and we've had homeless people in our community for a long time, but I'm sure you'll all agree that in the last 5 years or so, it's really exploded. Our homeless count was up about 20% in Pasadena, and it's become commonplace. We need to find a place to put these people, to house these people, to bring services to them. You heard the Vice Mayor earlier speak about Heritage Square South and some other projects we're working on in the city. It's an intractable issue, but we need more resources to deal with that. And again, as I mentioned, we've lost a lot of state funding, and when we look at our projections, we're gonna need to cut millions and millions of dollars out of our budget every year. In fact, the budget that's in front of the City Council now includes $2.3 million of reductions, including sworn fire staff and sworn police officers. We haven't had to do that in a really long time, and I've been with the city 29 years. As we go out and do some survey work with our residents, what are we hearing back? Not surprising, 911 response, police response, fire response, that's always the top of the list. That makes sense. That's a fundamental service that people think of when they think of government. But also making sure that we have our roads are in good shape, our sidewalks are in good shape. what they call our PCI index, or our pavement index, is actually lower in Pasadena than in Los Angeles. I was very surprised by that. I always prided ourselves that we had better streets than LA, apparently not. And maintaining our after-school programs and supporting our various neighborhood schools. So here's some nice pictures. They're nice if it's not your house that's on fire, but you can see our people, our first responders, they do a fantastic job every single day. The vice mayor, myself, the rest of the council receive reports from the police department about how they're keeping our community safe on a daily basis. So they're really on it. And of course, earthquake preparedness is a major issue. Dr. Lucy Jones, who was with Caltech for so long, constantly reminds us that it's not if, it's when. We need to be doing more to strengthen our infrastructure to protect against large earthquakes. The Public Safety Committee, which the Vice Mayor chairs, recently heard a report on soft-story buildings, and there's over 400 soft-story buildings in the city that are in danger of collapsing on the first story. It's the kind of the tuck-under parking, and we need to do something to make sure that those are safe. I think a lot of people remember the Northridge earthquake, remember the Northridge Meadows apartment building where many people died because it was a soft story and it fell down. I harp on our fire stations and our police building all the time because they're aging. We've had a terrible problem with mold in a number of our fire stations because they're just frankly old and water's getting in there. They're not up to current standards. 50 years ago, we didn't have as many female firefighters, and I'm proud to say we have many now, but they need separate dormitories, they need separate rooms. And this surprises a lot of people. 80% of the calls to the fire department aren't for fires. They're for emergency medical response. In Pasadena, we respond with an advanced life support ambulance that's staffed with firefighter paramedics. In Glendale, the fire department doesn't operate advanced life support. They operate basic life support, and you get an EMT. Well, I think for all of us, we'd say if you were having a medical condition, you want advanced, not basic, and you want a paramedic, not an EMT. We want to be able to maintain that level of service in our community. Hopefully your street's not on here. You could probably name some of them, but we have a beautiful tree canopy, 60,000 street trees, but they tear up the sidewalks. And again, we have hundreds, thousands of feet of sidewalk that needs to be replaced. The buildings here you don't see because these are inside the walls of city facilities. This is our Civil Defense Center. That's out at our city yard. But you can see the shape that they're in. We need to replace these buildings. And we need to find the money to do that. Again, I talk a lot about the streets. Our current estimate is 670,000 square feet of sidewalk that needs to be replaced. And of course, every year we add to that because the trees grow, they uproot the sidewalk, and we do more surveys and we need to replace it. Current estimated cost, $9 million to replace all that. We have 17,000 streetlights in the city. We have, our streetlight system is on a high voltage system, which is not good. They don't make the bulbs anymore, and it's a little dangerous. We need to convert it all to low voltage. The estimated cost is about $21 million. We don't have the funding for that either. And with infrastructure, the longer you wait, the more it will cost. So we're really focusing on our need to reinvest in our infrastructure. But we don't want to forget about our services that we provide day in and day out. Some great pictures. The Vice Mayor has been a real champion for doing work on the Robinson Park pool and pool house. I think we'll be able to find a way to fund that, but we aren't able to find a way to fund all the things that we need to do. And again, some of the programs we run for youth, aquatics, summer camps, sports leagues, after school, diversion programs, very important. So while we've been out talking to the community in advance of putting together the budget, we were trying to get people, soliciting input. I think our website is still live if anybody wanted to go to that and fill out a little survey. But basically the survey is returning the information that I shared a few minutes ago. Really the highest priority is emergency response, but also making sure we have programs for youth. And so as we move through the budget process, it's a difficult process this year. I'm confident that City Council will do what they always do and balance the budget one way or the other. But in short measure, in the near future, we may be back out in the community talking about what can we do to reinvest in infrastructure, to maintain our services, and make sure that we keep Pasadena the special city that it is. So I thank you for your time this evening. Thanks.
Almost 30 years ago, I met a young man who always had a gregarious smile working in community relations for the Pasadena Police Department. He and his brother in the struggle, Alfredo Lozano, were assigned to community relations for the police department. And John always had the community at heart in my conversations. And recently, the city manager saw fit to name then Deputy Chief John Perez to become the interim police chief after the transition of our previous police chief. And I think the community, at least the city council, seems to be unified and in unison and communicating to the city manager that that was an excellent decision when he made the choice, the decision to name John Perez, I should say Dr. John Perez, as the interim police chief. So I'd asked that the city manager, who had to do the due diligence to make that decision, if he would please introduce the next speaker.
Yeah, but you stole all my thunder. No, it was a real pleasure for me, and it was an easy decision for me when our previous chief, Phil Sanchez, told me that he planned to retire. It was a simple matter for me to know who was the appropriate person to take the reins of the department and guide us into the future on a short-term basis and perhaps on a long-term basis. I could think of no better person than John Perez, and I'm so happy that I've known him for a number of years. He predates me a couple of years here in the city, but I'm older than him, so in some way I've got him beat. So it's my distinct pleasure to welcome up to the podium Interim Chief John Perez.
Good evening to everybody. It's great to be up here. I really do thank the council and the city manager for the trust and confidence to serve as the interim. So as I stand up here, I think I have the responsibility to not only talk about crime tonight, which I'll do in a moment, but I think it's important to talk about the department and our community and probably our top priorities that we're working on so you understand which way you're going. The police department's priorities have to be the community's priorities or they just don't work. It just doesn't function that way. And so what I will do is talk about our top priorities and some of the things we're doing a little bit different and take any questions, but I'll also talk about crime as well. So number one, our top priority for us right now is really crime prevention. When you're doing crime prevention, you're taking less people to jail. When you're doing crime prevention, you have a high quality of life for the community, and when you're practicing crime prevention, it's just a better place for everybody, and it provides us for our second priority, which is community engagement. Nothing for us is more important than community engagement and really going out into the community and finding ways to connect with the community. Community engagement transcends all. It transcends politics, it transcends government, policing. It becomes the number one thing that nothing gets done if people aren't talking and people are not connecting. So most of what we're doing, we are moving forward to find opportunities in the community to really connect with neighborhoods and try to find ways to be more involved, not just in support of community projects in neighborhoods, but also being involved in initiatives, being involved in the real work of community outreach, youth outreach, and being everywhere we need to be to make sure young people know that we are them. We are just trying to make the community better through our efforts. And I believe third, it becomes very important. Many times it gets overlooked. You have crime prevention, you have community engagement, but none of that can be done from a police department's perspective if we don't have organizational development. If we're not, in fact, looking at ourselves from the inside and saying, how do we get better? What can we do better? What can we look at that's uncomfortable? What can we do to make sure that we are trying to get to the next place? And right now in society across the country, I think we are seeing a change in society. We're going through an evolution. We could feel it. We don't know what this is going to be called in a few years, but I think we could hear the voices throughout the country and the concerns that are out there. And I don't think we're supposed to sit back and wait. We're supposed to get out in front of it. And my 3 decades with this city has always been in front of it. This is a city that puts issues right on top of the table. They don't put them under the bed or in the closets. When you open it, it all falls out. They put it right on the table, and sometimes it feels uncomfortable, and it looks like, well, you know, this city might have issues other cities aren't talking about. It's one of the only cities I know that put the issues on the table. Most of the cities around us, and in fact, one of our officers today is traveling up north through Oakland and Stockton and some places to do some research to look at what we could bring back to Pasadena to make it better. And I think a lot of cities call to Pasadena and want to know, what are you guys doing about this issue, this problem, this challenge? And so I think our job is really to bring that to the table and see what the design can be. But we can't do it without the community, so we need everybody's input and help as we do this. So as we work forward, I'm working on the work plan with the department to present to the council and the city manager so people understand how we're going to move forward with the police department. But we can't forget organizational development. As you talk about engagement and crime prevention, please know inside we are looking for ways to become a learning institution, to find ways to make ourselves better. So with that, I'll take some questions in a moment, but I should get right into the crime issues so we're familiar with those for this district. And for the month of May, we had about 75 or so crimes in the district. 40 of those were thefts. We had an increase of packages and things being taken from cars that aren't locked. So that was more than half of what occurred in the community in a large area of Service Area 3 for the district. But we also had about, I would say, about 10 to 12 incidents of burglary from structures, commercial structures, or sheds and garages and such. And that was problematic for us as well to make sure we're locking those things down. We had 2 residential burglaries for the month, which is probably too many. When you have a home, it feels uncomfortable when people have gotten into your homes. So the one part of crime prevention, as the summer comes up, it's important for everybody to know that when we talk about residential burglaries and you're concerned about those things, the summer will come, the heat will come, the windows will go up, you know, and we will forget to close the windows when we leave down the street to go to the liquor store or go to the market or take a walk or go to the park or whatever we're going to do. We really want to get out of the homes because this is the best time to use the parks. This is, in fact, the best times for us to get out and really utilize what's out there for us to increase our quality of life and our engagement. But when you do that, you can't leave the windows and the doors unlocked or open. You do have to lock them. It's a smart thing to do. Even if you're going down the street, as I said, if you have an alarm system, you have to activate it. Many people just don't activate it because they'll be back in 5 minutes, and they'll come back to find out, oops, I probably was gone a little bit longer than 5 minutes. So you want to make sure you take care of these type of things. Know your neighbors in the area if you're leaving for a vacation. Again, summer's coming. Everybody will take trips, 1 or 2 days sometimes, or gone for the entire day at the beach. If you have a neighbor you could check on your home and drive by, that's a great place, a great way to really connect with your neighbors, but make sure that your things are safe and your house is well protected. And when you do leave for a period of time, please call the police department. We'd love to hear from you that you're gone and you'd like us to check on the house. You know, the trash cans, have somebody bring them in, pick up your mail, pick up the newspapers, you don't leave them out front. All basic things. As I drive through the neighborhoods almost every day, I tend to see that we've forgotten about some of these basic principles we were brought up with years and years ago. We do have to bring them back, and that will help to reduce some of this crime. So we did have an issue as well with assaults. We had about 12 or 13 assaults, street assaults during the month, 2 of which are concerning over on the 1100 block of Summit, or 1000 block of Summit. We've had a couple of shootings. To date, we've had a safer year. We've had 2 people who have been victims of gunshot. 2 too many, but 2 people this year that have suffered gunshots, one of which was during the month of May, and we had somebody shot in the 1000 block of Summit. So we're investigating those crimes. I like where the investigation is going. However, it'll take more time for us to do what we need to do. So we ask for your support when we get to that point, and we do have to make arrests. But it's very, very important that anytime somebody pick up a handgun and decides to fire that handgun, that should be our #1 priority in this community, that nobody does that. A bullet does not have a name on it. A bullet does not know where it's going to go. It just flies. So any one of us who have any information with anybody possessing those type of weapons or knows that they were involved, please let us know. It's important for us to do that. So as I answer questions for you in a moment, there's a few things that are important. #1, you're probably seeing an increase of bike patrols throughout Pasadena. We are reinstituting our bike patrols for officers. They, in fact, enjoy riding the bicycles. And so if you see them out there, a lot of people do come up to them, want to talk to them. It's pretty fun. The officers are well trained, but they do have police work to do on those things, but you'll see them come through the parks and do certain things, and it is safer for everybody. Besides that part of it, I would ask that everybody visit the websites and try to look at what city services for the summer we have and what kind of things we can all do to keep ourselves busy. This city offers more fun things to do than any other city I know. So you really have to get out of your house, get out to the parks, and get out to the street, get out to the hiking trails, and just have a good time and get it done safely and get it done smart, and you'll have a higher quality of life. And we're here for you. Anything you need, we're here. You probably, most of you have it, but if you don't, the number you should have in your cell phones for the Pasadena Police Department is 744-4241. And that's a number wherever you're at on your phone, you could just get to our number quick. Somebody will answer the phone on the other side. Not everything is a 911 call. So you have the comfort and the confidence of going through the city, and if you need to call us, the 744-4241 number is there for you to call. We do have a car show on Father's Day. It's a fun show on Sunday morning. If you get a chance to come out in the morning over on Green Street by the Paseo, we'd appreciate if you would come by and say hello. And it's another hot day, so wear your hat and sunscreen. So I could talk probably for a while more, but I think I should probably take questions and give it to the next person. Yes. Oh, up. Oh, yeah, thank you. What I'll do is, as Vice Mayor has asked, and it's proper, we have both our Commander Ed Calatayud and Lieutenant Max Dahlstein. Please come on up. And I use Max, if you have a difficult question, I think I should know most of it, but just in case, he's our service area lieutenant, and he knows the crime stats very well in the city. And Ed Calatayud has Strategic Services Division, which includes our jail, our records, our dispatch centers, and he's also responsible for a lot of the public requests that come into the police department. So we're fortunate to have him here as well. And so a couple of questions, I think. Right here first. Yes, sir.
Chief, can you give us a frank assessment of the success or failure, or positive or negative, of the officers wearing body cameras to date?
Yes, our body-worn camera program has been fantastic. We're one of the only police departments throughout the state that actually have a body-worn camera operating. The amount of memory and terabytes it's taken up is probably our biggest challenge, but the officers have accepted this challenge very well to make sure we use them in everyday work. It is not, and I left mine in the office, but it's not very simple when you walk out of the car, there you go, to step out of the car, and they're not always on because the batteries would go dead, right? So it would just run out on us. And so every day we have to charge them because the firmware updates almost every single day. So, but when you come out of the car, what we do is we touch it twice and it's activated when we need to. We don't have it activated all day long because we just couldn't have enough cameras and rechargeable batteries to get this going. So the officers are pretty cognizant when they come out of the car to make sure to turn them on and turn them off. At the end of the day, the officers have to spend some time categorizing each video with some time to spend on it. So it has taken some time off the street to do these, to patrol, but it's an important part of making sure we're organized and don't lose the information or we can't find it for some reason. So it's very important, and again, we're proud because we're one of the only agencies that actually have this program up and running, so we think it's going pretty well. The difficult part is activating it and remembering to activating it. You could imagine if you see something right now and you jump out of the car, you might be focused on maybe a fight going on or something happening, and you might not activate it. And we have to hold our officers and ourselves accountable to making sure we turn that on. The plus, many cities have seen a tremendous drop in the use of force and other areas, complaints and so forth. In Pasadena, we really haven't. And one of the reasons for that, over the last half decade, we have put risk managements in place to make sure we were already looking at use of force and looking at complaint processes. So the officers were well aware to be more cognizant of those. So even though they've been helpful from that arena, the officers, I think for the most part, are doing a really great job with using these. Once in a while they forget, but we remind them and give them the training. Especially for a new officer who gets into the police car. He gets into that police car for the first time. He's got different computer screens, different radios. He's got this going on, and we're trying to remind him what 100 block of what street he's on and all these different things that go on, but that's what we do with the training process. So thank you for that. So it's a great program. Yes, sir.
Can you guys do something about the panhandlers? The ones there on the freeway, they just, and everywhere else you go, you got somebody standing there with a handout. So I know the businesses don't do anything about it. Can you guys do anything about them?
So,
Just general panhandlers.
yes, sir.
I've
And-
seen them actually fighting over there across that gas station there at Lake and the 210. They-
And so our homeless issue is a challenge for every city that I know of. And so how we're getting at this issue is with a compassionate approach. There's many services. We have our HOPE team that work with the homeless and try to give them the services they need. We also realize there are some points of what we do that require enforcement. And so we do try to get to those areas where we get those complaints. The bike patrols have been helpful. The bike patrols have been out now for about a month or so. We've been using them. And so give us some more time with the bike patrols. You'll see some difference. You're not going to see it disappear, unfortunately, but we ask that you call us and report those, and we'll see what we can do with those. But I'll go back to the point is that we have to ensure that we're providing the services for the homeless that we can, number one. And number two, that we understand that this problem is not going to go away, so we have to find a balance to help them to understand what they can and cannot do. So it's not as simple as just stopping the panhandling, but we're here to take the phone calls and try to get out there and talk to the people that are in fact panhandling. Yes.
So one other thing that Chief Perez has had us do is management. We are sending our officers out. He's made it clear that all of the train station platforms, we're doing extra service on those platforms, and I don't know if everybody knows, but the Sheriff's Department is responsible for the crimes on the platform and the train itself, but our officers still can get out, get to those platforms and get to the areas that are kind of being hit hard with the homeless problem. Part of the engagement that the chief is talking about is not just our cops rolling by and shooing people off. It's getting out and speaking to these folks, and if they really need something, then we do get our homeless outreach program out there.
And it's working. So the platforms are only part of the strategy, but there's a broader strategy in working with our homeless. So more time. Yes, ma'am.
Could you address the public use of marijuana? So Monday was the last day of school, right? And then Tuesday I was walking around and I saw 3 teenage girls sitting on the curb smoking marijuana. And I was like going, oh, well, do I call the police? What do I do? Because I don't know, is it legal or what's going on with the public use of marijuana? Thank you.
The public use of marijuana remains illegal in the parks and in public places, and especially underage people. So giving us a call is important. If you're expecting arrests out of every situation, you probably won't see that as well. Sometimes we get there and the marijuana is no longer being smoked. So it's a very difficult issue. We are trying to understand. We understand the laws very well, but we're doing our best. If you see those type of incidents, give us a call and we could try to at least approach and speak to the people that were there and see what we're dealing with. But smoking in the parks, smoking in public places, the marijuana is just, it remains illegal with the... Well, it's still the smoking, the same laws apply with smoking with cigarettes. So give you a better comparison of what they can't do, especially with their age being, if they're under 18 years of age. So please do give us a call. It's a very difficult problem to try to manage at this point, being a new problem, but we're trying to find a balance with it.
We're going to take 2 more questions because we do have another speaker that has come from outside the city of Pasadena. So we want to make sure that we're able to get to the...
What are you doing to address the homeless issue in Central Park? That's where one of the Park and Rec urban camps are being held for this summer.
Yes.
And my daughter attends, so I do get to see. I know they're working on it, kind of keeping that under control, but it just still seems like there's quite a few homeless or transients still there in the park.
Yeah, so we're spending more time in the parks with the summer programs. I, in fact, walked through there with Lieutenant Clausen yesterday. We walked through and we spoke with the staff there at El Centro, so it was a nice conversation. We got to have a little lunch with some of the kids, so it was nice to be there. So we are sending the message for us to be there more often. In talking with staff, the homeless do understand they're not supposed to be in that area and they are moving away from there. So obviously, we can't make these arrests to put everybody in jail who are homeless, that's just wrong. But we can help them understand of what to do, what they can do and what they can't do, and it seems to be working there at Central Park. but we are managing there. Again, I was there yesterday. We'll continue to be there every day. If you have a concern, please call us. Okay? And you can email me too. If you go to our website, it has the command staff. You click on the command staff, you'll see my email. You could send me an email. I will respond to you. So I really encourage that as well. So, yes, I'm sorry.
I won't ask you what I always ask you, because I know you won't answer it. But so how does the 2019 budget for the police department look like to you? Is there anything you wish you had more money?
We have the funds that we need. Our biggest issue with the budget is just making sure we fill the vacancies. And at this point, I'm happy to report that we're probably down to about 2 or 3 vacancies for the police department. It's going to require some more work for them to actually get through an academy and do many of the other things. But the budget they offer us and what we have is working very well for us. So we'll continue to go through. Crime overall for the city is down by 9%. Our response times are down, so the officers are doing a great job with the resources that we have. So things are moving in the right direction.
So the gentlemen that have just come up today are really part of Pasadena's finest, and we have great expectations under the leadership of Dr. John Perez. We're holding him to a higher standard, and he cannot create a safe community unless all of us work with him to do that. I know John is committed to this community. I know all of you are committed. And so it's going to take all of us working together to create a safe community for our family, friends, and neighbors, and the children. At this time, or before I introduce the folks from Vector Control, I'd just like to say thank you to the men and women of Pasadena Media. As you know, that is a city-owned channel of the city of Pasadena. And they're really not required to be here to help me look good every time they film our community meetings, but they do their very best with the face that God gave me. And we just want to say thank you to Pasadena Media for being here at all of our community meetings. Some of you are concerned about health and safety related to mosquitoes and vector control, so I thought it would be helpful if we had a representative from the organization to speak to you about it. So from the San Gabriel Valley Mosquito and Vector Control District, I'd like to introduce Levi's son, the Public Information Officer, to talk to us about exactly what he does on a day-to-day basis and what that part of government does. So please welcome Levi's son.
Is it okay I go off, take the mic off? Yeah. There we go. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Levi's son. I am the Public Information Officer with the San Gabriel Valley Mosquito and Vector Control District. It's a very long name. Quite simply, we control for mosquitoes, and we monitor the diseases and the outbreaks that they can cause here in your city and throughout San Gabriel Valley. Now, we also are considered an independent district. We do provide our services not just to Pasadena, but to 25 other cities as well. And why am I here today? It is because recently we have partnered up with your city to provide enhanced mosquito surveillance and mosquito control. This is the first year we're doing this, and we are very excited to be partnered with your city. Thanks to your council, thanks to the support of your public health department, we are really excited to be here with you guys. Before I move on, there is one thing I do want to point out that plagues us every single year, and I want you to look at the big insect on the right, or on the left. You'll see them bouncing around your porch light. You'll see them bouncing around inside your home. Those are crane flies. They do not bite. So the ones you actually want to be aware of are the small ones. They are actually way smaller than a quarter. In fact, right now I'm going to pass around a little specimen. Do not open it. Don't worry, it is dead. Pass it around, and you can see the actual size of these mosquitoes. They're really tiny. Mosquitoes in California do not get any bigger than a quarter inch. All right. So I'm going to turn you on to mosquito experts tonight. We have two different types of mosquitoes. On the left, we have the ones called Culex. Culex are native mosquitoes. They've been here forever. We're used to their bites. And they're the ones that can transmit West Nile virus every single year. Those at greatest risk are those over 50 years of age or have compromised immune system. Unfortunately, we do have cases here in Pasadena of West Nile virus because they do bite people. However, the other group of mosquitoes, called Aedes mosquitoes, A-E-D-E-S, they're actually brand new to the area. They were first discovered back in 2011. These mosquitoes are the ones that have been responsible for the Zika virus outbreak in Florida and Texas, and all throughout South and Central America. They can also carry other diseases or viruses called dengue fever, yellow fever, and something called chikungunya. It sounds like a very exotic chicken dish, but it is actually a disease that's actually very exotic, and it can cause extreme arthritis. And these mosquitoes, they normally don't go after the birds, as you see the Culex mosquitoes do. They prefer you. They want your blood first. Unfortunately, there are some Aedes mosquitoes that can transmit canine heartworm. So there is a veterinary side to this that we are also concerned with. Luckily, we are meeting with your Pasadena Humane Society to get in contact with them, coordinate some kind of outreach where we can do better to educate residents who have their four-legged furry friends. This is the Aedes mosquito. It is quite beautiful underneath a microscope. I'm going to pass that one around. You'll see that it's very distinct, black and white stripes. Most people who see these immediately notice the black and white stripings on these mosquitoes, and they're just as small as the Culex mosquitoes. There are three things you need to know about these Aedes mosquitoes. First, they bite during the day. The regular mosquitoes, the Culex one, we are used to them biting us at dawn and at dusk, but these guys will bite during the daytime, which means we not have to worry about mosquito bites all day. Second, they can actually thrive inside homes and offices. This is because they use the stagnant water inside people's vases inside the home, and they'll lay their eggs in there. And third, they spread very easily from neighborhood to neighborhood. No matter if you have a clean yard, a really bad yard, if you have even a bottle cap of water sitting around, they will use that to lay their eggs in. And if they were to emerge out of those, they'll start a new infestation in any new neighborhood. And it's really these eggs that are really different. These Aedes mosquitoes lay their eggs individually on containers and plants. So say, for example, someone from a different city lay their eggs on a vase. That person then moves to Pasadena, and then they fill it back up with water. Those eggs can actually reactivate with that water being reintroduced. These eggs can stay viable for at least a year, which makes them very hardy. These are considered what I call the cockroach of the mosquito world. They love being in cities. They love people so much. They've actually adapted to the way you live with those plant saucers. Now, they're not just here. They're everywhere throughout Southern California. So you're not the only ones that may experience them. They've started out in South El Monte, and they've grown pretty much throughout Southern California and Central California. And again, we actually, unfortunately, as people, provide them their homes. Plant saucers, buckets, old tires, or even rain barrels that are not well kept can actually attract these Aedes mosquitoes. Now, don't forget your swimming pools. These mosquitoes, whether it's Aedes or Culex, they may be able to use your swimming pool, so please make sure they are well maintained. I'm gonna pass around another little specimen here. This is what I call the baby mosquitoes. There are the larvae and pupa. These are what you're gonna see swimming around in your water, whether it's a saucer or a bucket or even in a swimming pool. One swimming pool can actually produce up to 3 million mosquitoes a month. So when we find one of these guys, it's usually because all the neighbors within a block radius are calling us and saying, we are getting bit, we need help. And that's where we come in. As a public health agency, we do come in and we can investigate a neighborhood, find out where that source is, and help the landlord or the property owner basically clean up the pool. Just to let you know, recently we did do a flyover of the entire San Gabriel Valley area, including Pasadena, where we've located all the green pools, and we have been sending out notices to these green pools and getting people to fix them. We do pride ourselves in working with many cities through their code enforcement to help us make sure that these pools do not become a public health hazard. While we're doing our part, we do need your help. There are several things you can do. Most importantly is one thing that we always try to do ourselves, and that's to get rid of that stagnant water. When people hear about mosquito control or vector control, they may think right away, oh, they just go out and spray. They spray pesticides here, pesticides there. Luckily in California, we are so heavily regulated that we actually, ourselves, we promote the most long-term solution that's getting rid of the stagnant water themselves around the home and around the property. And if you're not using that container, please toss it out. And most importantly, use insect repellent, especially if you're outdoors. And yes, we are moving into the summer months. The mosquitoes will be coming out. So please use insect repellent to stop the bites. And of course, if you have any neighborhood issues, even if it's at a park, you can always report that to Vector Control, and we can come out and work with the city on this. One thing I just want to branch off real quick is don't forget about the fleas. Wildlife is common in cities. As we develop more of our lands, as we move into more and more of different areas of the city, we will run into wildlife. It's not a problem. The key here is to prevent these wildlife from transferring all their fleas into your home where they can bite you. Fleas can transmit something called typhus, and just imagine a flu, but a little more severe, and that's what it is. So we recommend people to please, if possible, avoid feeding the wildlife. Try to prevent them from coming onto your property where they can then unload these bus loads of fleas onto your property. And of course, if you can't, please use flea control on your pets. Now, I've dedicated my life to public health. I don't expect you to do the same. However, now that you received a crash course in being a mosquito experts, I do challenge you all to please at least take the brochure that you grabbed today or grab some more later and just pass it out to someone else you know, whether they're family, friends, or neighbors. This is all about education. This is all about trying to make people understand that we are in this together. Mosquito control is a shared responsibility. Now, if you have any questions at this point, if my Vice Mayor will allow, we can answer some.
Let's see where our time, we're over.
Okay.
Normally we would allow it, but we're over time today because we started a little bit late. But please give a round of applause for Levi's son. It is obvious to me that he is very passionate about the work that he does for us. He's doing that work for us to keep us safe. And if there are not any burning questions, and the last time I allowed a burning question, I regretted it. But if there are no burning questions, I'm going to ask, well, first of all, are there any burning questions? Oh, you'll stay after? Oh, you'll stay after. That's a good employee there. Any burning questions? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Back in the 50s and the 60s, Pasadena had a good exterminator come out for the spring. They would come out and spray all the drains, storm drains. Also, they had people get down in them storm drains and clean them out. They spray our trees. We wasn't really had lots of mosquito. I want to know why that can't be done now.
Now, you know the reason that I allowed her to speak because she's over 50 years old. She's one of our seniors, so I had to be respectful.
I am actually very proud to say that over the past couple years, we've actually started an underground storm drain program. We actually found that during the winter months, mosquitoes don't migrate south. They actually go into our underground storm drains where they hunker down over the winter. So we actually have a truck that actually you may see every now and then popping those lids, inspecting for mosquitoes, and getting rid of them. So yes, we are out there.
Okay. So before I ask the pastor of First AME Zion Church in our district on Raymond to come up, I would just like to acknowledge that our ambassadors are here under the direction of the Deputy Director of Parks and Recreation Human Services, Lola Osborne. And please give a round of applause. Come on up here so the folks can see you. These are the young people under the tutelage of Lola. And Lola has worked in the city manager's office. She's worked in planning. She's worked in a whole host of areas of the city. And now she's going to be helping Horace Wormley run our park system and our special programs there. Most recently, I don't know if she's still doing it, but she was the staff to the Northwest programs area. These young people receive training and a small amount of money. Minimum wage, but they do extraordinary work for all of the city council members and the mayor. And I think we just need to show our gratitude if we can say thank you to them. Thank you. And now, thank you. Oh, you want the mosquitoes back? Anybody else have a mosquito or larvae out there? He told you not to open it up, but let me just tell you a quick story. So there was a rattlesnake, this is within the last couple days, there was a rattlesnake that was about to strike the man's wife. He took out a spade and he chopped the head of the rattlesnake off. And stupidly, like myself, being a man, because women are not stupid, he reached down and the decapitated head struck. And the difference in that strike is that it didn't recoil. So all that venom went into the person's body, and they're lucky to be alive today. So what's the moral of the story? When you chop the head off, leave it. Leave it. Call the Humane Society. Call the Humane Society. Okay. I don't know why I shared that, but anyway. Let's ask Reverend Jared McDaniels, the new pastor of First AME Zion, to come up and lead us in prayer as we leave this place. I want to thank all of you for coming here. I know it was some difficulty finding parking. Actually, if we meet here again, please tell your friends and neighbors that it's 90 minutes free right to the north of this building. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And we will definitely put that in the email when we send it out. Thank you. All right, Rev. Thank you. Welcome to the community.
Thank you so much. Can we give Vice Mayor a hand for the outstanding job that he does to serve our community? Let us pray. Oh, most heavenly and gracious Father, we thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity that you've allowed us to gather as a community. Father, we pray right now for the initiatives and the concerns that have come before us on tonight. We ask for your divine intervention. We ask for your divine wisdom to fall upon us, that we may be able to live in harmony and unity as a community here in Pasadena. These and many blessings we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.